You are not born a winner. You are not born a loser. You are born a chooser. And you can ask yourself, can I have the strength and the courage to do what's right? You can get ahead in life. You can be very successful. It's so important if you develop your values. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How's everyone's English? Good?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go very slow. If you have any questions, just raise your hand. I'll be happy to answer it. It's my pleasure. Let me give you a little background about myself. Thank you, Rachel. Beautiful. I'm honored to be here. It's a very, very special story. This is my cousin, Joey Talgam, who I'm proud to be related to. My name is Jack Talgam Cohen. It's an interesting story. It started in London with a cousin who recommended that I should call him because he visited London. We ended up having a beautiful connection, and I'm here, and I'm happy to be here. So a little background. My great-grandfather was born in Syria, and they moved from Syria to Yerushalayim. And from Yerushalayim, they went to Buenos Aires. And from Buenos Aires, they went to Cairo, and I was born in Cairo, Egypt. My father was a student of Chacham Ovadia Yosef. Rabbi Ovadia, his first job after he finished Porat Yosef was Egypt. He was chief rabbi. And after the 6-day war, we moved to New York, where I grew up in the Syrian community. Fantastic community. I went there for Talmud Torah. For high school, I went to Yeshiva University. College, I went to NYU and Harvard in Boston. For professional degree, I went to NYU School of Medicine. I had a degree in orthopedic surgery and sports medicine. I was a team doctor for the Olympic Games in 1984 for the United States Olympic team. I came back to New York. I started a practice in surgery. That was my specialty. I was very lucky that when I was 12 years old, one of the biggest rabbis in the world, who was Ashkenaz, moved into the Shechunah, the neighborhood, the Syrian neighborhood. His name was Rabbi Victor Miller, considered one of the biggest rabbis to have lived in the last 100 years. He became my rabbi, and he became my teacher and my mentor. And he encouraged me very strongly to teach young people. So I was a doctor, and I did surgery from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night. And in the morning, I taught in mostly Ashkenaz yeshivot, even though I'm Sfaradi. A lot of boys who were coming home from Israel. I hope it's popular here. In New York, after high school, everyone goes to Israel, a year or two. It's a very good idea, I think. You become mature, you become independent, you learn how to run your life. And so a lot of these boys were my students, and many of them now were 22, 23, starting to date and wanting to get married, and many of them came to me with questions. And I didn't know what to tell them 30 years ago. I started reading on the subject, and I became very good at it. And I found myself getting hundreds of people married. I moved to Miami in 2001, where I had a practice in surgery, but I also taught in University of Miami for 6 years for a program called Esha Torah, which is, if you go to Kotel Maravi, you've been to the Kotel Maravi? So right near there is Esha Torah. So Esha Torah is a great school for Baalei Tshuva, people who don't know too much about Judaism.
La terraza esa bonita que ven ahí que da el bote arriba, esa es la Torah.
Yeah. So my wife and I hosted hundreds and hundreds of young students on Shabbat to teach them and show them what a Shabbat is like. Many of them got married in my classes. I moved back to New York because I was concerned that my daughters should marry good quality boys. I didn't see what I was looking for in Miami, and so I have a strong connection with a very big rabbi in Canada called the Tasha Rabbi. He was a very big, holy man, and he encouraged me to go back to New York. When I came back to New York, I was going to start being a doctor again, but I used to teach in Touro College at night, Wednesday night, a course called Dating with Dr. Jack, where boys and girls came, free dinner, and we taught them how to date. One day, a person came with a camera and he said, "Can I tape you?" So he taped me. And the next 4 or 5 days, I'm getting emails from all over the world. Sweden, Denmark, Israel, London, Vienna, Belgium, you name it. I have questions on dating. And I found myself very busy with that. Today, that's all I do. From 1 o'clock in the afternoon to around 2 o'clock in the morning, I deal with single people and married people all over the world. and I became an expert at it. I think that's how I ended up on Netflix. They found me. So I'm here to share today, we're not going to touch dating so much, but because I have helped a lot of young people direct them in their careers and their life, I want to speak about your future. Okay. There is a great rabbi who was called the Michtav Eliyahu. He lived in England. His name is Eliyahu Dessler. Very, very big mind. He wrote a poem in 1964. The past is only memories. The future is only hope. Focus on the present, for that is where your life is now. And life is full of tests. And your job is to deal with those tests. But we need a strategy. So, in life, you can't open a business without a strategy. You can't get married without a strategy. So maybe I'll share a joke with you. I'll go very slow. 3 men, Giovanni, the Italian, Isaac, the Jew, and Joe, the Polish guy, are sentenced to 20 years in prison. The head of the prison tells them, you can take one thing with you inside the jail. Does everybody understand me so far? Yeah, we have an Italian guy, and we have a Jew, and we have a Polish guy. The Polish guy is not so smart. Anyway, so they ask the Italian guy, Giovanni, what do you want? He says, give me a wife. Okay, takes his wife into the jail with him for 20 years. Isaac, the Jew, what do you want? I need a cell phone with a charger. The Polish guy, he says to him, Joe, what do you want? Give me a case of cigarettes. After 20 years, they open the doors. The Italian guy comes out first. Mucha gracia, he says, thank you, Mr. Prison Head. Because of you, I have 12 bambinos, 12 children. So nice. The Jew, they opened his door and he said, Isaac, come out. Thank you so much. With my cell phone, I called all my friends in New York and Wall Street. I traded stocks all day. I'm a multimillionaire. A good Jew, he knows how to make money. The Polish guy, what did he give him? Cigarettes. He says to the head of the prison, do you have a match? He didn't light the cigarettes in 20 years. He didn't have a strategy. We need a strategy. So, let me tell you a point. You are not born a winner. You are not born a loser. You are born a chooser. And you're going to be making a lot of choices in your life. And it's important to make good choices. So let me tell you a true story about a boy named Jason Kaufman in America who was not religious at all. He's finishing now his elementary school and he wants to go to a high school. The best high school in his city is a Christian school, St. Bartholomew. And his mother is now driving him to the interview. And she parks the car and is, Yashka, JC, big statues. And they walk in. Okay, where's the principal's office? She says, Padre Arriba, Father Kelly. Got to talk to him. So they go upstairs and they sit down. 5 minutes later, the secretary comes. Okay, Jason, vamos, come in. He goes in, the guy's wearing, blanca and negro. And he looks at his document and he says, Jason Kaufman, you're Jewish? Kaufman is a Jewish name. So you know what to do. Yeah. So he asks him an amazing question. Listen, Rachel, he asks him, tell me, Jason, do you know how to read the Aleph Bet? Do you know what the Aleph Bet is? He says, no. He looks at him, the father looks at him and says, how? You're Jewish. You don't know the Aleph Bet? So he says, no. He says, you know what? I have 3,000 applications. I can only take 200 students. I'm taking you on one condition. Every day in lunch, you're going to come to my office. I will teach you the Aleph Bet. This is a Christian padre. He's going to teach him the Aleph Bet. Fine. The next day, Jason comes with his sandwich and they sit down. The father takes out a sign and goes, this is an Aleph. Repeat after me, Aleph, Aleph, for 1 hour. He says at the end, am I done? No, tomorrow we learn the next letter, Bet. And for 30 days, he taught him the whole Aleph Bet. After 30 days, Jason thought he was finished. He said, no. Tomorrow we start Chumash with Rashi. This is an amazing story. For 2 years, he taught him the Chumshei Torah, the 5 books of the Chumash with Rashi. When he thought it was finished, he tells him after 2 years, now we're going to start learning Mishnah. One day Jason came for the class, and the father wasn't there. Secretary says he's going to come back in 2 minutes. He came back and he said to him, Jason, I taught you everything I know. I don't know anymore. And Jason, you don't belong here. You belong in the yeshiva in Israel. And I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to send you to Israel. You're going to study for a year. So Jason went to Israel for a year. He came back. His mother picks him up from the airport. And she says, you must be tired. You want to go home and sleep? She says, no. I have to go ask Father Kelly a question. So, give me a second. He comes back. Now Jason is wearing kippah now. So he walks into the school, St. Bartholomew, and Father Kelly sees him and he says, oh, how are you? What's your name now? Yosef? Yaakov? And he tells him, I had a great time, but I have a question to ask you. Why did you teach me all that Hebrew? Why did you teach me Aleph Bet? Why did you teach me Torah? What's it all about? And he tells him, I'm going to tell you a story. When I was in Catholic high school, we finished high school, and we had the opportunity to go study anywhere in the world for free, and the church would pay for it. I decided to go to Israel. I get there Friday afternoon, and I'm not tired. So I walk around, and I go to the old city. I see all these Jewish people going to the Western Wall, the Kotel, to pray. So someone taps me on the shoulder, and he says, you have a place to eat for Shabbat? I said, okay, I'll follow you. So I went and I had a fantastic meal with all these Jewish people. After the meal, the host says to me, would you like to hear a great Torah lecture? So he says, okay, I'll go. He went to Esha Torah, right next to the Kotel. He loved it. And he came back to class every day. The Padre. He didn't go to the Christian monastery every day. After a year and a half, it's time for him to go home. So he says to his Rabbi, I have to go. He says, what happened? Are your parents putting pressure on you? He says, no, I have to go. He doesn't want to tell them he's not Jewish. He says, you can't go unless you speak to the Rosh HaYeshiva. His name is Rabbi Weinberg, Noah Weinberg. He was a very big man. So he knocks on the door. He says, Rabbi Weinberg, I have to go home. He says, you're one of our best students. Why are you going? I can't tell you. No, but I can't let you go unless you tell me. I can't go. I can't tell you. He says, okay, I'll tell you. I'm not Jewish. What? You're not Jewish? We wasted a year on you? You know how many millions of dollars our donators give us money for you to help Jewish people, and you took that money? I can never forgive you for what you did. And the boy was so embarrassed. The Christian father is telling him, I was so embarrassed. I said to him, Rabbi, I'm not going home unless you forgive me. I said, I cannot forgive you for what you did. How can you take Jewish money wasted on you? So the rabbi says, you know, I watched you all year. You're a smart guy. I have a feeling you're going to go back to America and become an educator. Probably a principal. This is how I'm going to forgive you. One day, one stupid, ignorant Jewish boy is going to come to your school. You're going to take all the Torah that we taught you and you will give it to him. So the father looks at Jason. He goes, all my life, I've been waiting for that boy to come into my life. That was you. I had to keep the deal with the rabbi. I had to give all the Torah that I learned to you. This guy today this Jason is a big rabbi in Yerushalayim today. Choices. We're going to always have to make choices. It's very important. So I help a lot of people who are not religious. I spoke in Manhattan 4 years ago to a group about getting married. After I finished the lecture, and there were a lot of people asking me questions, a man comes up to me. His father was from Uruguay, and his mother was the daughter of Holocaust survivors. Rabbi, I'm going to marry my Gentile girlfriend. She's a Goya. What do you have to say about that? He's like attacking me in the middle of the room. I said, relax, man. Let's talk about it over a beer. Let's go on. I'll invite you to my house. Let's chat it out. So I said to him, he came to my house and he said to me, I love her. I want to marry her. So I said to him, I hear you. I want to tell you something. There's a concept called Kol Yisrael Yesh Lahem Chelek L'Olam Haba. Every Jew, no matter who he is guaranteed a place in the world to come. I just want you to know, if you marry her, you and I are finished. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. You lose that share forever. Are you sure you want to do that? 2 weeks later, he sends me a text. Rabbi, I dropped her. I'm going to now look to start dating in the Jewish world. And Baruch Hashem, you got married to a nice Jewish girl. So, you have to understand something. In life, you're going to have challenges. You're going to have a lot of challenges. You can't allow your challenges to bring you down. That's very important. Your challenges are going to try to bring you down. You can't do that. And whenever you have a test, you have to be strong. Have you ever heard of the singer Alex Clare? He's a very big singer. He's an English singer. Listen to what happened to him. He wasn't religious. He was a big singer in Europe. He started becoming Shomer Shabbat little by little, little by little. His agent calls him and he tells him, I got you a spot, 8 o'clock, 2 months from now, on BBC. You go on the BBC, you're guaranteed. Everyone in Europe is going to be listening to your music. You heard of the BBC? BBC is the biggest news and channel in England. He says, let me check the date. He checks the date. He says, I'll call you back. He calls his agent back and he says, I'm sorry. It's a holiday for me, Shavuot. I can't do it. He says, you're crazy. This is the opportunity of your life. You have to do it. I can't do it. He says, if you're not going to go, then we're not going to carry you anymore. We're dropping you. You're not on our label anymore. That was the record label. So he decides to go to Israel to learn a little bit, and he's strumming in his guitar. Just give himself chizuk. You know what it's like to give up $5 million? He was given a contract for $5 million. And he said, I'm not doing it because it's on the night of Shavuot. He comes home, back to his apartment in Yerushalayim, and there's a message on his voicemail, cell phone. My name is Mr. Haber, and I work for Microsoft. We'd like to speak to you. He calls him up and says, how can I help you? We heard your song. We want to use your song for Microsoft Windows. We're ready to sign a contract for $35 million. He signed the contract. That year, that song became #1 in Europe. Misrat Nefesh. Sometimes Hashem is going to test you. He wants to know what your choices are going to be. And you can ask yourself, can I have the strength and the courage to do what's right? You will be rewarded. You know, we just spent the last 6 weeks preparing for Shavuot. Let me take you back in history a little bit. The Beit HaMikdash was just destroyed. There are 3 multimillionaires in Israel. Kaba Sabua was one. Ben Tzitzit Keset is another one. And Naktibon Migidon. Kaba Sabua was like the Bill Gates of the country. He had one daughter. Her name was Rachel. He wanted to get her married. Every boy he brought to the house wasn't good enough. She wanted an idealistic boy, a boy that had dreams for the future. Now her father was losing a lot of money because his workers were stealing everything. He owned flocks, he owned land, he owned thousands of cows, but they were stealing. His neighbor, his name was Hyrcanos. He said to him, Kabaswa, I have a great guy for you. His name is Akiva ben Yosef. We know who Akiva is, right? He's a great guy. Let him run your business. So he hired him to run his business, And suddenly the business was making money, a lot of money. Akiva was a hard worker. But he was zero in religion, knew nothing. He was an Am Haaretz. He's 40 years old, he didn't even know how to read Aleph Bet. One day, his daughter, Rachel, the daughter of the owner of the property, goes out. That day was a very special day. That's the day that they cut the wool of the sheep. That's money day. You sell all that wool. She comes out and she sees Akiva supervising all that work. And she says to him, did you hear what happened? The head of the Jewish people died today. His name is Yochanan ben Zakkai, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. We no longer have a leader. Who's going to lead the Jewish people? He says, what do I care? I don't like these rabbis. They look down on me. They won't even say hello to me. She says to him, I've been watching you. You're smart, you're intelligent, you're a hard worker. You have the ability and the talents to be a great leader. If you put your mind to it, I'm willing to marry you. Imagine, she's the daughter of a multi-millionaire. They got married. She turned him into the greatest leader for the Jewish people. 24,000 students that he had. Because he listened to her and he made good choices. So that's our life. It's about making good choices. You know, we spoke last week about Ruth, Shavuot. Here's a difference between two women. One woman is Orpah, one woman is Ruth. Who came out of Ruth? David HaMelech. Who came out of Orpah? Goliath, the worst enemy. Two women who had to make choices, to stick with Naomi or not. So Ruth made a choice to stay with her, and from her came the king of Klal Yisrael. Am Yisrael's king is David HaMelech. Orpah went the other direction, and she ended up giving birth to one of the biggest Rishaim, who David ended up killing. So you have to understand that every time we're going to have choices. Now, how do you make good choices? You need to have good friends. That's so important. Your friends will decide your future for you. Friends that have good values. Friends that have good character. I had the pleasure, I made a video for Tu B'Av last year. It was with 50 rabbis in Israel. One of my friends, a Syrian guy that I grew up with, said to me, can I send you a young girl? She came from Manhattan to talk to me in my house. The family name is Resnick. They own double the amount of buildings than Donald Trump. They're huge, very big. She hasn't worked a day in her life. Her mother hasn't worked. Nobody has to work. They live in a penthouse on Park Avenue. She comes into my office, she's modern, you know, jeans, cut up jeans and everything. She says to me, I couldn't believe this, Joey. I'm going to Italy next week for the 58th time. I'm so miserable, I don't want to go. 58th time. I said to her, look at you. What you got for your first birthday as a present is probably more than I was ever worth. And you're so unhappy. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have fulfillment in life, if you don't have a system like Judaism, which gives such joy, you can be such a person, like this Michelle. 30 years old and miserable. No happiness and no joy. Do you know what I did with her? I sent her to Chabad. She went with her friend to seminary for 4 months, and now she's becoming little by little more and more religious. But she's happy. You need a system to give you joy. Nothing can give you joy like having the structure of the Torah mitzvot. It gives you satisfaction. And in life, we need satisfaction. We need that fuel in order to continue going. That's so important. You have to make sure we make the right decisions. And you never should be upset or ever embarrassed to be Jewish. In 1964, there was a rabbi, his name was Rabbi Cohen. He was in Rome, collecting for his yeshiva. It's It's a very famous yeshiva in Bnei Brak called Panovich. The Rosh Yeshiva of Panovich just passed away 2 weeks ago. Rabbi Earlstein, he was 101. He was in the car with the CEO of Hadassah Hospital. And he said to the person, take me to the Arch of Titus. Anybody been in Rome? Have you seen the Arch of Titus? What do you see there? What's the picture?
The Jews carrying
The menorah. Exactly. So he says, take me now to the Arch of Titus. So he tells the taxi driver, I want to go there. Okay. He comes out of the taxi. He straightens himself. He looks at everyone, a lot of young people there. And he starts giving a speech. I want you to listen to the speech that he gave. It's absolutely amazing. Who destroyed the Beit HaMikdash, the second one? Titus. Right? Titus, where are you today? Who are your grandchildren today? Who remembers you? Who knows anything about you? Nobody. I just came from Yerushalayim. He's talking to the statue, and people are watching him. Where my people are still alive. You destroyed the Beit HaMikdash, but you didn't destroy our people. You, Titus, are forgotten forever. This is 1964, he tells them. But right now in Israel, there's 3,000 yeshivot learning Torah. That's 1964. Now we're in 2023. Can you imagine how many more? Titus, your legacy is gone. So the doctor, the head of Hadassah says, they're going to attack you. Be quiet. No, I have to say what I have to say. He says, Am Yisrael will live forever, but you're gone. Nobody knows from you, Titus. You, boys and girls, you're going to travel the world. You're going to be part of different nationalities. It's so important to remember who you are and your legacy. How great we are as a nation. How great we are as a people. That's so important. I want to share an amazing story with you. Because Baruch Hashem, Panama has a lot of successful businessmen. There was a professor in America. He wanted to do a research study. Here's what he wanted to find out. What makes a millionaire a millionaire? Now I have your attention. We're talking about money. Okay. So he assigned 250 students to live with 250 millionaires in America for 6 months. He told each one, you're going to live with him. I want you to watch everything he does and tell me what makes him rich. What is it? After 6 months, the 250 students came back in a big theater in the university. Okay, number one, tell us your report. Sure. The guy I lived with, he's an animal. He kills any competition that gets in his way. He speaks Lashon Hara about him. He sues him. He calls the tax people after him. Whatever it takes to get ahead. Number two, same report. Number 3, 5, 10, 20, until 249, same report. My guy doesn't let anybody get in his way to be successful. He's suing everyone. He has enemies. 249 comes up and he says, the guy that I'm studying has no enemies. He's not being sued. He's a happy guy. He's not killing anybody to get to the top. So the professor is scratching his head and he says, why is your guy different? We need to know. Everyone else fit into the study. Number 249 didn't fit into the study. What happened? So they sent another 3 students to ask him, why are you different than everyone else? And he tells them something very interesting. My father taught me to be that way, which is to attack, to kill the competition, whatever it takes to make money. 3 years ago, we decided, me and my friends, 30 other billionaires from America, all mostly Jewish, we're going to go to Europe to expand business. We want new customers. So we finished early. We had a day and a half before to go back to America. We said, you know what? We have a private jet. Let's go to Israel, 2 hours away. Maybe we'll invest some money there. So they flew to Israel. The last day of the trip, they hired a tour guide. And they took a helicopter and they're checking out Israel. In the afternoon, the tour guide says to them, you know what? I saved the best for last. I'm taking you to Yerushalayim, to the biggest yeshiva in the world. It's called the Mir Yeshiva, 9,000 students. And he says, before I take you in, I want to ask you a question. If this was an American university, how many meters would you need to make everyone comfortable? And he said, I did the math, 700,000 square meters. Here, every student has a half a meter tall. How many professors would you need for 9,000 students? 800. Here we have 20. How many people to raise a $75 million annual budget? At least 40, 50 assistants and secretaries. Here we have one, the rabbi. So let's go inside. So you have the head, I don't know if you know some of the companies, Home Depot, Bernie Marcus, some of the biggest, wealthiest Jews in the world were in that group. You know, they walked in, and this man, his name was Kirkland, the man that was studying. He says, we walked in, nobody's looking at us. Nobody even cares. They're studying their Torah, and they don't even look up at us. There's no place to sit. They're sitting on the floor, on the stairs, and we were like absolutely shocked. We were like some of the most important people in America, and they didn't even care. And then we walked out, and the tour guide says to them, I saved the best for last. Now let's go meet the CEO. So we're expecting that we're going to go to the dean's office, and he has a gorgeous apartment, maybe looking at the cocktail. We go up to his apartment, the rabbi is sitting there. His name was Rabbi Nassan Finkel. He was the head of the Mir Yeshiva. And he says, all we saw is broken furniture and books, Hebrew books everywhere. And these are all multi-billionaires. He says, gentlemen, sit down. I hear you came to visit my school today. He says, yes. Tell me, what's the difference between a man and an animal? What's the difference? And he tells them, let me answer you. An animal attacks when it wants something. An animal grabs. An animal tears things. A human being can hold himself back. Gentlemen, today you came to see human beings, not animals. That's why they can be in such tight space, and they respect each other, and they give kavod to each other, and they have derech eretz for each other. And so the man, the pharmacy millionaire, says, when I saw that, I said to myself, my father taught me incorrectly. I don't have to kill. I don't have to hurt people. I don't have to destroy the competition. I don't have to speak Lashon Hara. I don't have to sue people in order to get ahead. I can be a civilized human being and be very, very successful in life. And that's why I don't fit into that study. And that's the message I want to leave with everyone today. You can get ahead in life. You can be very successful. It's so important if you develop your values. And you remember, you don't have to go outside of our religion to find those values. They look up to us. The world looks up to the Jews. They admire us to no end because we've survived all these thousands of years. Enemies wanted to hurt us and destroy us, but they never will, because Am Yisrael Chai V'Kayam, we're always going to be around. We may have problems, we may have a terrorist attack once in a while, but Klal Yisrael will always be around. As we see, we are amazingly successful at surviving. I want to give you my blessing to all of you, that you should have great futures and build great homes, and you should have a tremendous success. But always remember, your choices matter, so you should always make the best choices. Thank you so much for bringing me here today. It was an honor and a pleasure to be here. I'm happy to answer any question on anything, if you want to ask me any question. If you don't, you can always send me a WhatsApp. I'm happy to answer the question. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.